Hello peeps, on today's episode of the 1 Year Life Transformation Challenge, we're going to find out who you really are and use 5 steps to explore your true essence. Hello everyone. Knowing who you are and knowing your true nature is at the core, the fundamental core of reality. Once you get in touch and appreciate your true self, all your external experiences start to manifest in line with that. Life, seems to be the struggle and this journey of us getting knowledge and wisdom and experience in order to, reach an end destination in which we know ourselves. However, the process of knowing yourself needs to begin before the journey. You can have a lot more fun in this life if you know your true nature, know the spectacular soul that you have, and walk into every single situation with the sort of confidence that builds. So as always, I want to begin with a quote on the subject, and that quote is, "You are here to enable the divine purpose of the universe to unfold. That's how important you are," Eckhart Tolle. I'll read that one more time. You are here to enable the divine purpose of the universe to unfold. That's how important you are. I saw a friend, I was at the beach just yesterday and I was walking and I saw an old school friend who looked very, very down. And rather than give him some guidance or lecture, I just felt that it was appropriate that the piece of paper I was holding, which happened to have this quote on it for today's video, I would just hand over to him and walk away. And when you're down and when you're not feeling secure and you're feeling like life can be overwhelming, it's really important to know who are you and who is this happening to, and who are these experiences that you're labeling as negative, who are they really happening to? Because if they're happening to the flesh body, the ghost, the meat-covered ghost that we're talking about right now, it can be overwhelming. But if it's happening as a giant experience where you're involved at multiple levels, it's not so overwhelming. So who are we? And sometimes we see ourselves as the person who suffers, the person who loves, who gets angry, and all the emotions and the flux. And if that's who we are, we're changing all the time. There must be no true self. If one day you're funny and one day you're not, who are you? If your identity is about being a policeman, what happens when you retire? Who do you become? Because it seems to be very transitory. The labels that we put on ourselves are really not good enough. They really aren't good enough because they're forever not being able to refine who we are. We need to go a bit deeper than those surface level labels to understand who we are. So under a microscope, so let's look at the scientific point of view. So under a microscope, I am basically a collection of carbon-based molecules, and then we go a bit further and I'm atoms and protons and neutrons. Now what's super interesting is that under a microscope, if I was under an electron microscope, and then you move that microscope 5 meters to say a ball on the right here, the scientist observing would not know that there had been a change in object. It would simply see the same atoms that occurred in me inside the ball. So interestingly, we're all linked at a scientific sub-level to everything else on the universe. There is no differentiation. And it took us 50, 60 years of working on electron microscopes to understand that at a core level, there is no difference between the matter inside of me and the matter inside of the camera I'm recording this on, which is really spooky and really helps you see that you're much more than you are. So let's define the living self, the manifestation of living self. So you look at yourself and you think, well, I'm Brad, I'm doing this video series and this is what I'm about. But if we break that down, how am I doing this? How am I living? Well, I'm a community. I'm a community of 20 trillion cells. And each one of those cells has specific duty. And each one of those cells is performing the dance of life. If some of my liver cells begin to fail, then my entire body would start to fail. And we understand that consciously, right? You know that your liver is you, and you're part of your liver, but you're both connected. Even though you can define it as a liver, you can take it out of you and look at it, it's still part of you. Now, we're very good at that within the body, understanding those cells and those parts of your body. But when we create space or separation, we start to lose that concept. We see individuals over there as being completely different. However, we are intrinsically linked, and it's important to understand that. So when we're looking at who we are, let's find out how old we are. Well, if you ask a scientist how old you are, if you ask a physicist actually how old you are, if they were being accurate, they would say probably about 14.6 billion years old. And you'd say, hold on, I'm on my physical age, I'm 35, that's how old I am. Well, nothing about you is 35. The atoms in your body are 14.6 billion years old. And then you say, well, you know what, I'm much younger than 14.6 billion years old. Well, okay, let's look at one of your cells. One of your cells is generally only 6 months old. Some of the oldest cells in your body, the bone marrow, only lasts for 18 months. You're constantly renewing your entire body every 18 months. So what is your age? This is the questions we need to ask and really sort of analyse these questions to know who we are. Because quite often people say, my name is Brad, I'm 35, I live in so-and-so. Well, none of that's true if you look at it at a deeper level. So we are the universe, so why don't we feel like it? Why don't we get this? Why don't we consistently have this subjective experience where we feel the outer world is either out to get us or we're not part of it? Well, it's quite simple. There's 5 things that continually push you out of being your true self that you need to remind yourself about in order to come back and be that invincible universe which is eternal and is constantly, taking on challenges and succeeding. And the number one, or the first reason, I guess, on why we forget we are so connected is distractions. Distractions are at the heart of ignoring our true selves. And when I say distractions, I mean things like checking the mobile phone every 10 minutes, checking for emails that may or may not be there, sort of turning on the TV when you feel bored. Those sort of distractions that come into life, getting involved in other people's affairs that are unnecessary, those distractions, when you're involved in those distractions, when you're scrolling through your phone and thinking about who you're going to call, you have no time to be aware of your connectiveness. Your mind is doing 1,000 million different things. It's thinking of future problems and past situations. You have no time to connect. So distractions, and I know that you know this, but we're more distracted as a society than ever. The news is pumping us with full of information that's, most of it's meaningless and is designed to scare you. We've got movies and motion pictures and fantastic music being produced all the time, these fantastic arts, but it's the way that it's penetrated our lives is incredible, and we're constantly distracted and not able to come into our true self. That's why meditation and things like that are so important, just to take a moment of your time to reconnect with who you really are. You can imagine if someone was a prime minister or a president of a country, but they were so distracted they forgot, they would need someone to remind them every time, hey, you're the president, you can make these decisions, don't stress out. So the number 2 reason we continually forget who we really are, we think about the future all the time. We're always thinking that this concept of who we are, we project it into the future, and we're saying, well, when my house is paid off, when I get the dream job, when I find the dream partner, then everything will be great. And we're forgetting that we're already great, and we keep sending it off into the distance. We keep projecting our happiness into the distance, and we're never really grounded in this present moment, which we have control over. We have absolute control, infinite control of this present moment. We have no control over past events, which are memories, fantasies. We have no control over future events, which are just projected thoughts and fantasies again. No power in those areas, they're daydreams. We only have power now, constantly projecting ourselves into the future, if, when, and but, which leaves our power behind. The number 3 reason, well, we're the only animal that can forget who they truly are. You don't see birds stressing out. I was talking to a friend yesterday. We walked into these mangrove forests. It was incredible. And I said to my friend, isn't this insane? You have this ecosystem where these birds of different species are getting along and singing. You have these plants, which are different species, all coexisting. And even the predators in this ecosystem have no malice. The snake doesn't kill the bird because it hates the bird. It kills the bird because that's part of the process of life. So all these things are existing. They have no stress. The pain they experience is simply quick, sharp pain that may occur from an injury, but you've probably seen documentaries where lions get parts of them ripped out and they keep moving on. So even pain and suffering is very minimized at an animal level. It's when humans and thought comes in. Thought is not always your friend. Thought can distract you from the moment, and ultimately we're the only animal that can forget who we are. So it's really important that we remember who we are. And we all know what happens when humans forget who they are. We destroy the rainforests. We pollute the land, we pump oil into the oceans. That's because we forget that we are the oceans. That's because we forget we are the rainforest. It's a very human trait. That's why we have so many methods in order to remember who we truly are, whether that's sacrament, ritual, being present with a loved one. Those moments are designed for us to reconnect. 4, we continually forget who we are because we create comparisons. So we forget that we are the one creating the comparisons, and we live in the comparisons. An example of that would be, you're doing quite well, you've got a new car, you love it, you think it's great, and then you see someone across the road 3 months later with the latest model that looks better or has better features. All of a sudden, we've lost our power again, and we've created this model of the world that involves on if, then, black, white. And really what we're doing is we're forgetting that it's all good. You know, that old saying, I think Chris Tucker used to say it in Friday, that great film, it's all good. And we forget that because we create comparisons all the time. Comparison is a disease, and ultimately it is all good. And as soon as you create comparison, you create subjectivity. So I must be the subject in order to compare to. Therefore, I must be less than or more than the object I'm comparing to. That's where the problems come in. And number 5, we have become thought-generating machines. Western society in particular has put such an emphasis on thinking things through. What are your options? And whilst that can be good, we trained our brains to be thinking all the time. Now, when you react, or respond is a better word, when you respond to a situation, it's always perfect. We all know we've been in a situation where someone's threw a ball and we've just got out of the way, or someone said something and caught us off guard and our response was just perfect. Well, the reason is because you didn't think. You just came from your true nature, from your Tao, and you responded to the environment. When you think things through, you overanalyze it, and we all know when someone does public speaking, they've thought it through so many times, they get the words muddled. We are thinking machines, and we need to take a break because like any muscle of the body, if you train the brain to consistently think of the past and future, good or bad, like even reminiscing on great memories or thinking about great memories in the future or great things that happen in the future, those echoes will train you to live there. So you need to make sure that even though you are a thought-generating machine, that you turn the machine off every once in a while so you have the on-off and default buttons. So we are the universe. I don't think that, I know that. And I can't wait to see you tomorrow because I can't wait to connect with another piece of me that's looking to expand and really explore this world. But until then, it's goodbye for now.